must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
Good afternoon and thank you for joining us. This is Diaspora Dispatches and we get to bring you the latest from Africa. My name is Miriam Mugutu and we start our conversation this afternoon, the 9th of September 2021 from Somalia, where the rift between Somalia's Prime Minister and President is intensifying with the latest sacking of Security Minister. Prime Minister Mohamed Roble sacked the minister late Wednesday, but President Mohamed Abdullahi Farmajo rejected the move. Mr. Roble replaced Security Minister Hassan Hodumbue Jimale with Mohamed Nur. President Farmajo on Thursday said the move was unconstitutional. This is the second time the Prime Minister and President has deferred on appointments. The Prime Minister last week sacked the spy chief and the President reinstated him, then later appointed him on a new role. The two leaders have in the past deferred publicly on policies. President Farmajo banned agreements with foreign entities until after elections, but the Prime Minister went ahead to sign agreements in Kenya's visit last month. And so that is just another example on how Somalia's President and the Prime Minister right now continue to disagree on very important issues of national interest there in Somalia. And then we head over to Mauritius, where former Mauritius Prime Minister Navin Ramgoolam has been moved to India for treatment after he tested positive for COVID-19. The opposition Labour Party leader left Mauritius aboard an air ambulance and arrived in India on Thursday. He was transferred from a private clinic by a Mauritian medical team to the Sir Sio Sagur Ramgoolam Airport tarmac. He has not travelled abroad since 2014 when he lost the general elections and was arrested. The Mauritian government has taken on the responsibility for guaranteeing the cost of the medical trip, which will subsequently be paid by the Labour Party. Mauritius has recorded a surge in COVID-19 deaths since last week. And then we head over to Morocco, where Morocco's Islamist Justice and Development Party has suffered a crushing defeat in parliamentary elections, slumping from first to eighth place. The Liberal National Rally of Independence Party gained most seats, followed by another Liberal Party, the Authenticity and Modernity Party, PAM, which is seen as close to the monarchy. The RNI and PAM parties took 97 and 82 seats, respectively, of the 395-seat parliament, while the central-right Istiqlal Party got 78 seats according to the preliminary results announced on Thursday. The PJD only got 12 seats from the 125 seats it had in the outgoing assembly. Elected politicians in Morocco have only limited powers as key decisions remain in the hands of King Mohammed VI. We head over to the Democratic Republic of Congo, and an outbreak of meningitis has been declared in the northeastern region of DRC. So far, more than 120 people have died from the disease. The first case in the DRC, Congo, was reported in July. More than 100 people have receiving treatment at home and in health facilities. The outbreak has been difficult to contain because of the community's belief that it is linked to witchcraft, the World Health Organization has told the BBC. Samples shipped to France for screening found that the bacterium responsible for this outbreak had the potential to cause large epidemics. Many have died, and the community's unresponsive nature is partly to blame for the high mortality rates being reported. And then we go to Guinea, where Guinea has been suspended from the West African Regional Bloc, ECOWAS, following the coup that overthrew President Alpha Conde on Sunday. Burkina Faso's Foreign Minister Alpha Barry has said the bloc also demanded Mr. Conde's release from custody. He added leaders of the 15-nation bloc held a virtual meeting to discuss the coup waged by elite troops led by 41-year-old Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya. He accused Mr. Conde, who is 83 years old, of rampant corruption and human rights abuses. The deposed president's whereabouts are unclear. Although the coup leaders have said he is safe, Guinea is one of the world's biggest producers of bauxite, the raw material for aluminium, and prices have leaped to a 13-year high following the coup. The junta released about 80 political prisoners who had been detained during Mr. Conde's rule. About 400 people had been imprisoned during protests in 2020. Many of those released were arrested last year during massive nationwide protests against Mr. Conde's plan to stand for a third term. We go to Ethiopia now, where fighters in Ethiopia's Tigray region have denied killing about 120 civilians in the neighboring region of Amhara. The Tigrayan People's Liberation Front has said the allegation was fabricated, and it reiterated its call for an independent investigation into all atrocities committed during the 10-month-long war. Meanwhile, the state-linked Ethiopian Human Rights Commission said it was alarmed by the discovery of a large number of bodies. Law enforcement agencies were still trying to confirm the death toll, but survivors reported that the victims were civilians. It added early officials in Amhara said they had discovered 2 mass graves in the Dabat district, where 119 people had been killed earlier this month by the Tigrayan fighters. And then we go to Mozambique, and banking services have been restored in northern Mozambican town of Muenda in the restive Cabo Delgado province. The services had been discontinued due to insecurity in the region and lack of electricity supply. Civil servants living in the area used to travel to Montepuez, 220 kilometers away to access their salaries, according to a local media. 2 banks, Banco Comercio de Investimentos and Milenin BIM, have reopened their branches in the town. Absa Bank is, however, yet to reopen. Restriction to banking services were issued after an attack in the region's main town of Palma on 24th of March. Electricity supply has also resumed a year after the sabotage of the Oasi substation in the district of Masimboa de Praia. And then we head over to Libya, where the European Union is ready to do more to support the organization of elections and schedule that has been scheduled in Libya late December, in particularly by supporting the reform of the security sector, assured Wednesday in Tripoli, the head of European diplomacy, Joseph Borrell, said. Brussels is willing to help the Libyan government reform the security sector, a sector that has disintegrated since the fall of Muammar Gaddafi's regime in 2011, giving way to a myriad of militias and armed groups with shifting allegiances. After a ceasefire agreement between rival authorities in October 2020, a unified transitional government was installed under UN auspices in early 2021 to lead the country to elections scheduled for December 24th, but divisions have resurfaced and the holding of the poll is becoming increasingly hypothetical in the absence of a constitutional framework. And then we head over to South Sudan, where President Salva Kiir says it is shameful that the SPLM has not been able to pay back the masses for their support during the liberation struggle. He admitted that the country's dominant party has not met the expectations of the people since taking power in 2005. Most parts of South Sudan are said to have collapsed into a state of humanitarian need, where the basics of survival, food, medicines, and drinking water are non-existent. According to President Salva Kiir, the SPLM had been bogged down by internal splits and conflicts over leadership and foregoing service delivery. Earlier this year, South Sudanese expressed disappointment with the SPLM leaders for deviating from the promises made by Dr. John Garang during the signing of the Comprehensive Peace Agreement in 2005. The SPLM, through its former leader, had pledged to rebuild the war-devastated South Sudan using existing wealth. Garang stated that the party would implement a social, political, and economic development strategy and programs that include using oil money to strengthen agriculture as the engine of growth. And we can see from that Dr. Garang had a very beautiful dream for the country of South Sudan, and that has just remained that, a dream, because nothing close to that has been able to come to pass. And President Salva Kiir now says it is very shameful that SPLM has let down the people of South Sudan. And you know what, President Salva Kiir, I agree with you, and you are the leader of that mess we see there in South Sudan, together with your first Vice President, Dr. Riek Machar. You have ensured that South Sudan continues in that path of destruction with your, with your wrangles and your egos, and the leadership not just coming together to work together for the good of the people of South Sudan. So that is what we have for you from Africa this afternoon. I don't know if there's anything I want us to talk about there, but hey, the issue of Guinea, I think I need us to talk about that just a little bit. But I think it was just a matter of time before what ECOWAS, suspended Guinea from its bloc, and I know African Union will follow suit. I'm sure tomorrow when we'll be here talking, African Union will have done that, because I've told you here, and we've talked about this before, when the coup in Mali happened, when President Deby died in Chad and his son took over, although I don't know why, the country was not suspended from the African Union, because you cannot be a member of the African Union if you are being led by a military man, as we see now happen in Guinea. So it was just a matter of time before all the suspensions took place. So ECOWAS has started, and they've asked the African Union and the United Nations to endorse that move. That means African Union will subsequently suspend Guinea from that union, and also the UN. I don't know how that will come about, but as we speak, there's supposed to be a meeting by the military junta and some mediators from ECOWAS that was supposed to happen today, but that has been postponed. I think it will happen tomorrow. And, ECOWAS has had a lot in its hand in the recent past, as there are a lot of fires to put off in West Africa. So President Jonathan Goodluck was just in the ECOWAS mediator has been leading mediation efforts in Mali, just brought a report that was not quite settling about the possibility of elections not happening next year in Mali, because the military junta don't seem very keen in organizing for an election where, Mali can have a president, a civilian president, after that coup last year. And so I think they've tasted power, and power is good. They feel very well. They're in charge of the country. So I think they've stayed on there too long. And we saw a coup happen again less than a year, a couple of, 2 or 3 months ago, when they removed again the president that was installed because the president reshuffled his cabinet, and he removed some of the army officials from the post that they had agreed on earlier. So now the army general is the interim president of Mali. Okay, so the suspension from African Union, I think, continues. I don't know if the suspension from ECOWAS also still continues in Mali, but I'll confirm that information, and then I'll let you know here tomorrow. So it's a lot going on there in West African bloc, ECOWAS, and it's a lot. And I saw an interview earlier, President of Uganda did, and he gave his comments on the coup that just happened in Guinea, and he said the army should stop and they should go back and they should just stop, because what they're doing today is not acceptable. And I wondered, dude, you've been the president of Uganda for what now? Almost 36 years going, right? And you came to power through a coup. So you were not the one to speak on this one, President Yoweri Museveni. Sit down. You were not the one to speak on this. But he said he was displeased, the army should stop, and yada, 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 a lot of things. And so he's very disgusted by that coup that happened in Guinea. Forget the fact that he came to power through a coup, and he has stuck there, and he's refused to leave, basically. He's still there, President Museveni, but he still has the audacity to comment on another coup happening in another country. All right, very well. So the issue of Guinea, we shall continue following that for you, and hopefully there will be a happy ending, because so far there's not been any bloodshedding, there's not been any, any deaths from this coup. So that is a good thing so far. And so hopefully there will be a happy ending, and the country can go back to its democratic gains that it made by electing the now disposed President Alpha Conde as the first democratically elected, president of Guinea. I think he let the people of Guinea down. When President Alpha Conde was elected to power, there's a lot of hope and there's a lot of progress that was seen to have been made in Guinea, being that he was the first democratically elected president in Guinea. The other day, I was just giving you a history of Guinea as a country and the number of coups it has witnessed in its, about 63 years as a country, after gaining independence. Is it 53 or 58? I'm not sure. But, it gained its independence in 1958, I believe, from France. And so all these years, there has been a coup after coup, a counter coup, and all this. And so Alpha Conde was the first president to be elected democratically, and that signaled a new beginning for this country. And then what did he do? After his 10 years elapsed, instead of leaving, with his dignity, he decided to have a constitutional coup itself. No wonder there's not too many people coming from his aid. No wonder there's not too many people making noise about where he is or even wanting to know, because a lot of people think you brought this to yourself. If you would have just served your 2 terms and just gone home and enjoyed your retirement, you would be celebrated. You would be, and he was, for the 2 terms that he had served. The people of Guinea celebrated him, but and his term was to end. But he decided, I know I'll stick around because I think you need me a lot more around than And he thought perhaps it was too early to retire. He's 83 now, but he thought he still had some time to serve the people of Guinea. So that's why there's not too much noise around. No, there's not too many people coming out and condemning this coup that happened on Sunday, because Alpha Conde had no business still being in the office as we speak right now, but he insisted on negating and arm twisting and having a constitutional coup in that country. Nevertheless, whatever happened, I think, is not acceptable. It goes against the democratic rights that as a continent we continue to pursue, and we continue to celebrate when we see, democracies mature or sort of, making progress. We don't have very mature democracies yet in Africa, but they are developing democracies that are slowly getting better in the continent. And I believe Kenya, we are one of those countries. We don't have it all together, but we're making progress toward having a better, mature democracy. And so are other countries across Africa, and Guinea was among one of these countries. So Alpha Conde, really, you let down the people of Guinea. You were celebrated. He did a lot, for the people of Guinea. But now nobody's even looking at that track record, because you rubbished everything good that you ever did when you insisted on going for a 3rd term. But we've not seen him. The last time he was seen was on Saturday? So nobody really knows where he is. But the army junta continue insisting, but he's okay. So we can only pray that he's fine. He's an old man. Just let him be, and hopefully, the people of Guinea can organize for an election as soon as possible. Because when you remove Guinea now from ECOWAS, as I've said, ECOWAS have suspended Guinea. The next thing, AU will suspend Guinea. In these times of all this radicalization and all these things happening across, especially that region, I don't think any country wants to be isolated right now. So the junta, the military junta, they must do right by the people of Guinea, so that this democracy that was seen to have picked up and was just headed towards the right trajectory, that must be restored, so that the people of Guinea can be given an opportunity to choose a leader of their own choice. And since then, we've seen the opposition come out and celebrate this coup, which I think is in really bad taste. Yeah, you do not want the army of a country involved in a political situation of a country. That's a bad situation altogether. So, but they're celebrating. So, hopefully, this will end well. I think that is our prayer. The rest of us here in this other part of Africa. And Tigrayan fighters have come out and said, those people that have been killed and the bodies that were found, we did not kill them, and they're asking for investigations, and they keep insisting those deaths were caused by the Ethiopian soldiers together with the Amara soldiers and other soldiers. And so yesterday we talked about the bodies that were found floating in a river that separates Sudan and Ethiopia, and things like that. And, Ethiopia's government had tried to put that on TPLF, but the bodies that were found, a lot of them were recognized to have come from the Tigrayan region, so there's no way TPLF would have killed its people. I'm not saying Ethiopian government did, but, there are atrocities happening in Ethiopia, and it is sad. Things that you hear happening in Ethiopia is sad. People are dying of famine. People are dying of treatable diseases because, they can't find food. That region, they're farmers. They can't farm. All their crops were destroyed, and they've not had time. This war has lasted for 10 months, so that's just way too long. And so hopefully the mediation that have continued. I saw the Ministry of Foreign Affairs sent our CS here in Kenya to go and have talks with the president work of Ethiopia. So hopefully that featured the talks, and perhaps Kenya also is trying to mediate. I'm not sure if Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed will be very welcoming to that, because we know he has issues with Kenya for whatever reason. But I think President Salva Kiir will be the one mediating. He was chosen by IGAD to try and mediate between in that conflict in Ethiopia. So hopefully President Salva Kiir will bring us a good report, and hopefully he'll be able to broker some kind of peace and understanding of the stakeholders and what is happening there in Ethiopia. Very well. Thank you so much for watching. This has been Diaspora Dispatches. My name is Miriam Mugutu. Bye-bye for now.
Katika hakikisho lake la kukuza utengenezaji na uzalishaji wa bidhaa humu nchini, Rais Uhuru Kenyatta amezindua miradi kadhaa ya utengenezaji ambayo inaambatana na mojawapo ya ajenda zake 4 kuu katika serikali yake. Miradi michanganyiko ya utengenezaji iliyozinduliwa na Rais Kenyatta inaegemea moja kwa moja sekta ndogo ya usindikaji wa mazao ya kilimo, viwanda vya dawa, viwanda vya nguo na ngozi, uundaji wa magari, uzalishaji wa vyuma, sekta ya habari na teknolojia, pamoja na viwanda vya mafuta, madini na gesi. Miongoni mwa miradi muhimu ya utengenezaji ambayo Rais Uhuru Kenyatta amezindua hivi karibuni na ambayo inakusudia kuchangia kwa kiasi kikubwa katika kuunda kazi ni pamoja na kiwanda cha utengenezaji wa silaha nyepesi chenye thamani ya shilingi bilioni 4 za Kenya katika gatuzi dogo la Ruiru. Kiwanda hicho kinakadiriwa kuwa na uwezo wa uzalishaji wa bunduki 12,000 huku 60% ya malighafi yake yakizalishwa kutoka soko la humu nchini. Mnamo Aprili mwaka huu, Rais Kenyatta alizindua kituo cha teknolojia ya nano na utengenezaji wa semiconductor katika chuo kikuu cha Dedan Kimathi. Kulingana na wafanyikazi wa viwanda hivyo, teknolojia hiyo iliyozinduliwa na Rais itaongezeka maradufu miaka michache ijayo, kwani mahitaji ya utafiti kupitia teknolojia yanaendelea kukua kwa kasi sana humu nchini.
This is going to be the future for us to be able to now make our own motherboards, and from making our own motherboards to making our own television sets, to making our own mobile telephones. These are all new opportunities that are all going to be created from this seemingly very small but very critical foundation towards our manufacturing agenda for our republic.
Hali kadhalika, Rais Kenyatta mnamo mwezi wa Mei mwaka huu alifungua rasmi kituo cha ujenzi wa meli na ukarabati mjini Kisumu. Kituo hicho ambacho kina yadi 2 katika mji wa Kisumu na Mombasa kinatarajiwa kuongeza ujenzi wa meli mpya na ukarabati wa meli zilizopo ili kukabiliana na mahitaji ya usafirishaji wa maji katika maeneo ya maziwa makuu. Kituo hicho pia kinatarajiwa kubuni moja kwa moja nafasi za kazi kwa watu wa miji hiyo miwili. Ni wazi kuwa ushirikiano wa umma na sekta binafsi humu nchini unabakia kuwa muhimu ili kuhakikisha kuwa Kenya inafikia malengo yake ya ukuaji na utengenezaji kama ilivyokadiriwa katika ajenda 4 kuu za Rais Uhuru Kenyatta. Wakenya wanapaswa kuendelea kuunga mkono miradi kama hii, kwani itakuza ukuaji bora wa uchumi na kijamii.